we'll start at the top because a friend of mine sent me this. With the he texted me this morning. He said weak side king Otowamne with the caption "Get the f off my island." Ready for this? KDA best in the league 7.2, CSD at 15 plus 10.6 best in the league. Goal difference at 15 plus 374 best in the league. Jungle proximity 6% worst in the league.
Mm.
He's completely
He's
on an
crack.
island. He is the king of that island. He is Gilligan. What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for being here. We're back in video format, in living color, yet again. Episode 14. 14 weeks. That's 3 months and change right now that we've been doing this, plus a little time off for the holidays.
Kind of crazy, actually. Yeah.
Kinda
That's a long ass time.
big old pog, if you ask me. Don't know about my two co-hosts, Tyler Scarra and Meg K, but I'm pretty excited. It is playoffs time, baby. We took a little bit of time off last week to talk a little standalone stuff, a little esports, fashion, the stuff that matters a little less if you're cared about the competitive side of things, but no, playoffs are up and in full swing, and we're going to start with the LEC. Let's just dive right into it. That last week was insane. I know, Meg, I want to ask you, just as a human to human, have you recovered yet?
Human to human.
I had to take a nap. I had to have some saltine crackers. I had to take like a good recovery nap, get my electrolytes replenished, but I'm back. I'm doing it. I'm okay. That was a hell of a weekend, I'll say.
Oh my god, dude! Watching those last games, I can't believe that it came down to the literal last day of the season to lock in the last spots for the playoffs. I know that everyone wanted to be spicy and have Fnatic kind of like miss playoffs, but it would feel weird not seeing them in the playoffs, honestly.
It wouldn't feel right. It would feel like seeing Mount Rushmore with one of the faces not on it. Like, it just wouldn't look correct.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, I think this is about where they probably deserve to be, and I think like starting in the losers bracket, because to y'all's point, starting with them not in the playoffs feels really, really rough. Or like if they wouldn't have made it, it just doesn't feel right. You can't have that. It's like, okay, well, is it gonna be like G2 Rogue, and it's like, okay, that's what we kind of think is going to be the finals anyway, but like, we want like one best of 5 with Fnatic. They're an institution. They've got world skins, y'all. Let's not forget
They have world skins.
They have world skins.
True. Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah, we like to forget about the Fnatic world skins, but they do exist. They are out there. Fnatic Jarvan, one of the worst skins in the game, in my humble opinion.
Jarvan, Karthus, I think Ezreal, Janna. Anyway, doesn't matter. Let's get into the playoffs here. We've got some. The bracket has been released, and the log jam resulted in Schalke 0 4 seed. Schalke 0, they are the 4th seed. But like, if I didn't know that, which honestly I didn't until this morning, I would have thought they might have been the 6th, because again, it was just so crazy. And then they show up and it's like, oh, they've got to play G2 in the first round. That might as well be a 1-6 matchup. This is going to be. I know G2 have their 4 Fun series or whatever, and in the double elimination they're much safer. But them losing to Fnatic and Mad Lions last year, right? That felt different than if Schalke were to pull off some shenanigans here. I just don't see that happening.
It's gonna be difficult, to say the least, for Schalke. I think that G2. Well, okay, I'll just say it right now. I think the only team that really can challenge them is Rogue, and we've seen that throughout the entire season. But hey, we've seen some shenanigans from G2 before where they get knocked out of winners, right? Like, imagine they get knocked out of winners just to eliminate Fnatic in the losers bracket. I would laugh my ass off. Like, just to eliminate them.
No, you can't even put the thought of that reality out into the world. You can't do that to me.
I'm manifesting
if I have to watch Fnatic after having had such a difficult split, and then it's like, okay, they get to go into the losers bracket. At least I won't have to watch them get 3-0 stomped by G2. And it's like, oh no.
Oh wait.
The universe has plans for you, little one.
Yeah.
It would take some It would take some shenanigans, because if G2 were to get knocked out in the first round, they would go into kind of the round 3, if you will. So Fnatic would have to beat SK, beat whoever comes out of the Rogue Mad Lions, which would be wild,
actually,
because that would eliminate Rogue / it's kind of crazy that Rogue / Mad Lions could be gone in like by the middle of next week. But them's the breaks. Do we see anything out of this Schalke G2 matchup? Like, I think this is something that maybe it's been talked about a lot, but maybe I just haven't picked up on it. It does feel like something that even we talked about way back when the G2 to Reckless thing was first announced. Is like, does this serious them up some? It does feel like they've become a little less for fun with Reckless. It feels like they're tryharding more. I don't know. I'm not saying all the time, but I feel like it's been more. Am I misreading that?
Yeah, I mean,
Does it even matter?
yeah, it's kind of difficult to say because at the end of the day, I think G2 could like troll draft most games and probably still take games off like a good amount of teams in Europe, but or to a certain extent, like they're not drafting Mundo ADC and still winning. But like,
Yeah.
I definitely think. I actually don't know. It kind of feels like a disservice to the rest of the team to say Reckless has brought more gravitas because I think it's kind of an unfair label that's put on G2 that they actually don't take stuff seriously because you don't get that good by not taking stuff seriously.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of a community narrative that people enjoy, and I'm not going to be like the Debbie Downer who's like, no, everyone has to try hard all of the time. If you don't get out of my league, I don't want you here. But like let's just rein in what we think of as like trolling, because G2 don't troll and they never have. They just like know how to conserve their energy for the game. Like I spoke to Grabs earlier this split and he was like, yeah, we don't mind if we go 18-0 in the regular season, but like we're never trolling. We're just conserving our energy for the moments that it matters.
We've seen this before, right?
Yeah.
It's like G2, they could have a like bad split by their standards, like last year. But when it comes to the playoffs, and this is something that we've said every single time that we've seen them come, is like when it comes to playoffs and they turn it on, it's over.
Yeah.
It's over. You're playing for second. As soon as G2 decides to turn it on, you're playing for second at that point. And so I think at this point, G2, we'll see whether they want to come out of the gate turned on already, or if they like Meg said, if they want to like turn on. That sounds kind of weird, but it's just like, but like in more so in the case of, are they going to try and conserve more of their strength, more of their picks, more of their spicier like surprises for the rest of the playoffs, and kind of just save them for like Schalke? They probably don't need to draft anything crazy or do anything too nuts. They can just stay very meta focused and simple and still beat them off of just straight strength of roster. But
I think the later we see G2 turn it on, the more excited I am for MSI. Because if you don't have to like kick into gear until like the final game of finals, if you like you're against Rogue and you don't feel like you have to kick it into gear and you can still beat all of those people without being fully kicked into gear, then you are going to make mincemeat of some teams at MSI. Like it's going to be brutal, and then we get 3-0'd by a Chinese team again. But you know, that's fine.
Yeah, that's that might be an everyone situation. But
True.
Moving on to then the Rogue Mad Lions series, the fact that we get that as a first round matchup, that feels almost unfair. Now, thank goodness for the double elimination, because it'd be really, really tragic to see one of those two teams go this early. Mad Lions hit a little bit of a slump in the middle of the season, but then they really resurged at the right time. I know that one of our staffers is big on the El Yoya for Rookie of the Split hype train.
I'll blow this one for you.
And if the rookie class wasn't so strong, like, and we knew there were going to be a lot of rookies, but there are a lot of guys that deserve a legitimate shout at this. And it's not that, like, I don't want to do a disservice to El Yoya, because he has been fantastic legitimately. But
he's been one of the best junglers in the league.
No, I think he's a top 5 jungler, zero argument. Because I think his consistency has also gotten better as the split has gone on. I think the transition to more of a ganking jungler has been not super clean for him, because I think he thrived on the Grazes, the Lilias, right? I mean, we talked about like that when we were doing the Rising Stars piece, that Pantheon game that he decided to bust out, because he just got that kind of confidence in himself as a playmaker and as a carry threat. But no, I mean, the rest of the team, they've started to re-gel. But Rogue, they are the second best team in Europe. I don't think anyone would argue that.
So good. Good.
We'll start at the top, because a friend of mine sent me this. With the he texted me this morning. He said Weakside King Odoamne with the caption, "Get the F off my island." Ready for this? KDA best in the league, 7.2. CSD at 15 plus 10.6, best in the league. Goal difference at 15 plus 374, best in the league. Jungle proximity 6%, worst in the league. He's completely on an island. He is the king of that island. He is Gilligan.
Yeah.
Yep. You are not allowed. You have to have express permission from the king himself to set foot on the island. That's his top lane. Yeah. He enters any matchup. No, it's his top lane now.
It's
no matter what the matchup is. He could be playing like, I don't know, he could be playing like full AD Lux top lane, and you step into top lane. That's
Alright.
his top lane now.
Yeah, no.
He doesn't need his Q to do damage. It's just
Hey,
like, well,
Rogue, if you need my drafting help at any point, then just let me know. I'm here for you.
Yeah.
I'm
Meg's
saying.
you're our expert draft queen here, ready to go. But yeah, no, Rogue is like one of the most altogether teams I've seen since G2. Or like even like in terms of like straight dominance, like they are so put together at almost every single stage of the game, because we've seen teams that are really, really strong, but they excel in very specific areas. But Rogue, I think, are really good at multiple parts of the game. Whether it's a really good early game, they have one of the best early games in the league, I believe. And you know, moving in, they know how to snowball leads, and they even know how to. And we saw that in the G2 game that they had, where they know how to play from behind really well too. And so, again, I said this in the beginning of the podcast, where I think that they have been the closest competitor to G2 and closest like contender to G2 that we've seen. And they just got better. They just keep getting better, straight up.
Okay, there's a question. Do you think that this Rogue is better than like immediately post Caps Fnatic? Like peak form Capsless Fnatic? Which do you think is better? Because that's been the thing, right? It's been Fnatic, like Capsless Fnatic versus G2 has been like the matchup for the past, I can't even remember how long. Do you think this Rogue is better than that Fnatic? Do you think they have more of a chance to like not get 3-0'd in the finals?
I think so. I think we've seen Rogue. Rogue has shown more resilience while behind, I think.
Yeah.
I think that when Fnatic gets behind against G2, it's kind of like a very snowball-y kind of thing, that when G2 gets ahead, it's over. Like it's like one thing starts to happen after another, right? Whereas I think from what I've seen from Rogue, they are really good at what, like, it's like a G2 thing, where you know how if G2 is kind of behind, for example, in kills or something, they're getting they're getting like a tower on the other side of the map or another objective or something, and they're making sure they're staying with farm and keeping the gold close. Like that's what Rogue is able to do. Even if they're like behind or something, they still find ways to find like to stay close with the enemy team to the point where maybe they can still take the lead with a team fight or something later down the line. And so I would say that Rogue is stronger than that Fnatic, because they are able to play from they're able to play from behind a lot, I think, better than them.
I think barely, only because, I mean, look, G2 did still 2-0 Rogue this year. Let's not forget that. And but to your point, Tyler, I do think that the floor is a lot higher for this Rogue team. Like you said, they have been much more consistent. But it's kind of like in conventional sports, where you need like a guy who's going to go out there and just get you a win, get you a play. Because like also to me, like peak Capsless Fnatic was what we saw in the quarterfinal against Top Esports. That was when like everything was clicking. That was when that bottom lane, when Reckless and Hill is saying, we're just putting Jackie Love in the dumpster. Granted, Jackie Love and Yanja were not. They were not who they should have been. We saw
not the games of their careers, we'll say.
No, but I don't know. Just to me, and maybe this is still some of my. I don't know if cognitive dissonance is even the right phrase, but some of the remnants from last year's Rogue of they will never outright lose, but if the game, like, it doesn't matter if the game goes longer and longer and longer, they will just get choked out.
They can't make like. Their key problem last year was like they struggled. They had all of the setup perfectly. Rogue's dragon control's always been like fairly phenomenal. Like we saw that especially this split. They just kind of seemed to accrue dragons like out of thin air. But the thing that they struggled with last split was they couldn't make that final call. The like, let's take everything that we have, put it in a nice neat little package and use that to win the game. They couldn't like tie the final bow on the game that they'd set up perfectly, and they've definitely gotten better at that this year.
Yeah.
And they almost managed to pull it off in the game versus G2, where I can't remember if it was the first or the second game. I have a feeling it was the second, where Larson Zazir got like a triple kill in their base while G2 were trying to end the game. Yeah, I think it was the second one, where that was a moment where it was like the bow so nearly came together and they so nearly had a way back into that game. And that, like, it's amazing to see how much Rogue have changed in a year, and that makes me a lot more excited for how this matchup's eventually going to go.
Yeah. I mean, Capsule's Fnatic, they do still have a best of 5 over G2, whereas Rogue do not. So, but again, that was also reckless G2. So,
True.
we'll see. I mean, final predictions on this one. Do you think 3-1 Rogue? I also heard a take that 3-1 is a coward's prediction.
I think it was Reckless that said that. It was on an episode of Euphoria where it's like you don't how was it that he phrased it?
Like
you don't trust them enough to win outright, but you also don't think it's going to be close. I don't know. I personally don't agree with that because weird shenanigans can happen in draft.
Yeah.
And also, like, yeah, that's exactly what I think. Like, it's not even like a flame to Rogue. It's not that I don't trust Rogue. It's just Mad Lions are the 3 seed for a reason. And
Mad Lions are good.
Yeah,
like,
they
good.
are good. Like, I think they will take a game off Rogue, but I don't think it'll go to 5. I think they'll have like the one game because again, Rogue's fundamentals are so dang good, and Mad Lions are still a very young team. They swapped out young guys for young guys, and I think the experience of Rogue will win out. They could 3-0, but I wouldn't be shocked if Mad Lions took a game off them.
This is going to sound like a wild tangent, but bear with me for 1 second. Have you guys ever heard of a concept called Chekhov's gun?
Heard of it, but
you're gonna have to explain.
Basically, it's a literary concept where if a gun appears in the first chapter of a book, then that gun will be used to kill someone somewhere in the book. Now, how does this relate to esports, you may wonder. Here's what I'm thinking. That role swap game was not by accident. How, like, obviously we're not going to have Elyoya playing mid lane against Rogue in the playoffs because I don't think Mad are suicidal. But do you think there's any way in which that role swap game benefits them? Like, do you think that there is anything that they can take from that that's not just memes? Or do you think it is just like, yeah, it's the final game of the split, we'll have some fun with it?
I honestly think they were just running it down a little.
Like, does it give them any, like, weird drafting advantages where it's like, oh, well, Yoya might whip out the Kiana jungle even though it's trash?
I don't.
Yeah, if they're gonna whip out some weird stuff, I don't think it would be because of that game. I think it'd be stuff in like scrims or practices, and I don't know. Maybe I think a mental advantage might be in order that they kind of like were able to.
They hover the Malphite and Rogue are like, oh god, not again.
Yeah. I mean, I was thinking we're just like in the G2 vein of conserving your energy, but to a lesser extent or maybe a different degree. That okay, it's the last game of the split. We're not just gonna keep burning out. We're gonna be like, hey, let's have some fun. Regardless of kind of maybe the other implications of things, which there's some stuff that we don't really know about, so we're not going to talk about that because we don't know. But that you have a bit of you've let your foot off the gas a little bit in terms of unnecessary intensity. You're not spinning your wheels for its own sake. You're enjoying your accomplishments. The fact that you locked in an upper bracket seed and eventually the 3 seed did an extremely good split after a lot of people thought that this team was going to take a step back, but they are still the 3rd best team in Europe right now. They have put together consistency on a level that for every run that every one of these teams went on where Fnatic looked like the 3rd best team, Schalke looked like the 3rd best team, SK looked like the 3rd best team, everyone looked like the 3rd best team in Europe at some point, but Mad Lions were slowly just putting together 2 in 1 week, 2 in 1 week, 2 in 1 week, 2 in 1 week. And so that deserves some you deserve some credit for that. And I think that any sort of momentum that teams were carrying into the back half of the split, because you have a week break, I don't think will carry over quite as hard.
Right. Ultimately, I say 3-1 too. I think that Rogue, I think I'm pretty much echoing you. It's just their experience at the highest level is going to put them over these young guns. But I do think that these guys are talented enough to break it. I honestly think that like Elyoya is fucking good. Like he is super good. Like what other junglers are better than Jankos? Inspired. Who else would you say? Self-made?
Self-made on a good day.
Right.
Yeah.
I think Razork's up there for like 3rd or 4th best in the league.
Yeah. I think again Razork on a good day. And he's been playing a lot better as of late. Actually, I mean, he's kind of been consistent the whole split. Actually, just I think my perception of him is a little boom because Misfits were abysmal for 2/3 of the year. But
and the thing is that he's a huge part of why they're so successful. He has the highest kill participation percentage of any jungler this season, and so if they're going to succeed, it's going to be through him. It's going to be because of him. I think he's going to have to really, really pull like the stops out against Inspired and against that team. And I see that team taking one game easily and challenging. They're gonna challenge Rogue in a way that not a lot of I think at least they're gonna challenge Rogue in a way that people won't expect. But I do think that Rogue's gonna win based off of pure firepower. Their lineup is disgusting across the board. So.
All right, well, let's move it to a little spicier matchup then. This one is exciting because the predictions I think are going to be, they could be all over the place. They could be 3-0, 3-1 in any direction, 3-2 in any direction. SK versus Fnatic, the 5-6 matchup we didn't know we needed. Meg, we'll start with you. Fnatic limped into playoffs, but then again, so did SK a bit because the rest of the league decided to go ballistic. And Astralis finished with 6 wins. Misfits almost won. SK have lost 5 in a row.
Yeah.
SK have lost 5 games in a row.
That's kind of rough.
And the only reason they got in over Misfits is because they had the 2-0 regular, like the head-to-head.
Mm-hmm.
I want to believe in this team so badly. I really like the way that they play. I think Blue is a lot more talented. And sure, he had the awful game on, was it Zoe, where he got solo killed in lane like 15 times or something? Everyone has an off game. I think Blue's really talented. I think Jenax is disgusting. Jenax just does unpleasant things on Aatrox. That is not things that should be seen by human eyes. Oh,
just censor the part where he kills everybody.
Yeah, you just have to put a big black bar over his Aatrox whenever he's on the screen.
Yeah, exactly.
Their bot lane is very very consistent. That kind of sounds like a cop-out way of being oh, they're a bit nothing, but they're not. They are a very good linchpin around which the rest of the team can operate. And then obviously treats is treats, playmaking extraordinaire. And I don't know, I can't even say it's recency bias that I think they actually might take this off Fnatic, because they've been on such a big downward spiral. And obviously Fnatic have made it public on Twitter that they're having issues behind the scenes. They haven't revealed what they are yet. I think Yamato said he was going to make a post about it, but as of us recording this, we haven't heard anything. We have no insider information. We have no idea what's going on with Fnatic. Clearly something's wrong, because purely by the individual caliber of these players, they should probably be higher than this, but they're not. And you have to work with what you've got. And oh god, I just don't know. I just don't know what I think of this matchup, because there is both teams have disappointed me.
Exactly. They're both going this way. They're all both going down. SK is on a bad losing streak. Fnatic they had to win one game this past weekend, and they had probably one of the easiest lineups to get it in.
Yeah.
Right? Before even that Rogue game, they had matches against two of the easier matchups in that entire lineup, and they lost both. And it's just after that second loss against, who was it again?
Misfits.
Yeah. After the Misfits game, it's just
that Misfits game was not good. That did not paint Fnatic in particularly glowing colors, because Misfits have not been playing very well.
Yeah, exactly. You look at this team and think to yourself, on paper, it's they've got enough talent to be a top 4 team in the LEC. They should. But it's come down to, and we don't know again what's happening behind the scenes that has really affected them in the last couple of weeks. But if it's that drastic to have them lose to teams like this in situations where it matters, it might be a rough playoff set for them. And I'm not saying it's because they're bad. It's maybe because this situation that we don't know about is affecting them that much to the point where they might not be able to perform in a couple of weeks. Hopefully they're able to get things together and fix whatever's wrong. But from what we've seen, if what they're talking about is as bad as they're saying, SK could win this based off the fact that they're just not in the right mindset. Right?
Yeah, and regardless of how the games end up, I just hope they're all okay.
Exactly.
Because it sounded pretty drastic from how both Sam Matthews and Yamato have been talking about it on Twitter. So completely just regardless of who wins what, who's playing who, I just hope they're okay. Because that would suck if one of them would if there were to be something genuinely very wrong behind the scenes. And as is the way with Fnatic, they have received their fair amount of shtick over the course of the split for their performance, some of which has been justified.
Mm-hmm.
and some of which absolutely definitely has not. If you're the kind of person who sends hate to players on Twitter, you're gross and I don't like
Yeah.
you. Like, it sucks to think that there's been something else happening for however long it's been, and that's affected the Fnatic that we've seen. Because that just, it feels unfair. Regardless of the outcome of this series, it'll feel like an unfair series.
Yeah, for sure.
No, and I think it is also unfortunate that one of these two teams is going to go right, like, kind of first weekend, because
Like right out the door, yeah.
Yeah, because at their peaks, again, like we've seen, like you said, both of them are trending downwards, but both of them at their peaks have looked really, really good and have looked like teams that deserve a shot at getting a legitimate run at the playoffs. Like, no disrespect to Schalke, because their beginning of the split was unbelievable. I want to see Broken Blade do well. I like Gilius. I like that whole squad. But I'm not quite as convinced by them. I wouldn't be mad to see them in the bottom. And see SK or Fnatic people. And I think Fnatic, look, they have a culture where, like, maybe that's an unfair statement because this iteration of the team has been together for so little time. But I think if there's a team that could rally around whatever adversity is going on behind the scenes, it could be Fnatic.
Yeah, even purely just because Yamato gives the single best motivational speeches that I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, true.
If there's a guy who's going to get you through some stuff, it's going to be Yamato Cannon. But then again, if they can't pull it together, then it will be the equal. Once we fight, it's very hard to say, like, oh, it's the responsibility of what's been going on behind, or oh, it's the responsibility of the fact this team doesn't gel, because we have no idea whatever this thing is. And I don't want that to take away from the fact that this team does have some legitimate gameplay issues. But at the end of the day, if they make it, they make it. If they don't, they don't. And there is nothing that any of us can do to change that, whether that be because of their gameplay issues, whether that be because of the problems that they've been having behind the scenes. We don't know. We can't comment on it. Goodbye, we'll see you in summer. That's just how it's got to be.
Yep, it'd be like that. All right, real quick, Rookie of the Split and MVP before we get into everyone's favorite quiz show segment, which Meg has brought back.
Hell yeah.
So very excited for that, for me to, maybe win a set instead of losing everything a half point to 0 or however I've been losing them. But Rookie of the Split, MVP, do we have any spicy takes? I'll throw out Trimby. I'll start for Rookie of the Split. I think he's been one of the best players on at times the best, the second best team in Europe. I was about to say at times the best team, but at no point I don't think Rogue were the best team in Europe. I'm sorry. No flame to them. Just G2. No, I think at no point were Rogue the best team in Europe. I'm sorry. That's not even a controversial statement, because G2 exists. That is no flame to Rogue, because it has been G2 S tier, Rogue A tier. Everybody else has occasionally poked their head out of B tier, only for them to just get whacked right back down.
Like a whack-a-mole.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, it's whack a team that's gonna not get to the finals. But
it doesn't have quite the same ring to it, does it?
Not quite.
It doesn't roll off the tongue.
We'll workshop that.
We'll workshop it. Yeah.
But I think Trimby's been unbelievable, and especially given the role that he's been asked to step into as a guy who plays playmaking champs. He's not like the main shot caller, but like he has really risen to the occasion. His teammates speak incredibly highly of him. To support is an incredibly important role. The fact that Rogue went from a team that was just at Worlds and they think what's going to get us to the next level, a rookie support, because usually it's the opposite. Usually it's okay, young, mechanically gifted AD carry and like a veteran support to just like rein him in and guide him and shape him. But they said the opposite, and he's performed above even the highest expectations that people had for him. So hats off to him. I think he gets Rookie of the Split, and that's also a bit of a tough call to make because the rookie class has been so strong. There have been so many phenomenal candidates.
Yo, I'm gonna tell you right now, my Rookie of the Split winner is gonna be my boy Treats.
Good shout.
I think Treats, like, we made a video on him and his journey going all the way to NA, back here, and like that, the amount of perseverance he needed to do, and the fact that he does like affect his team in such a huge way, right? He's got like he's leading in a couple of really big stats, like I believe kill participation for sports. I think he has like an 80+% kill participation percentage above everybody in the league. He's a great aggressive player. He was evolved his game. And his
teammates also speak incredibly highly of him. Like, do you remember that Gen X interview?
Yes.
Just glowing. Like, Laura was
glowing
like,
reviews from everyone.
Yeah. Laura was like, oh, like, what do you think? Like, she was just directing all the questions at Gen X, and he was like, yeah, bro, Treats. Guy's God.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I did an interview with Trimby this weekend for a content piece that is coming out probably before playoffs. We'll say that. I'm not sure specifically when it's going to be coming out, but one of the questions I asked him was kind of around the topic of Rookie of the Split. This guy genuinely spent about 5 minutes just telling me how amazing he thought Treats was. I was like, dude, I've asked you to explain why you think you're great, but it was so sweet because he was like, yeah, I think he's really good, and I think he's really good with his team, and I think he engages really well. And I was like, you're adorable. I love you.
And that's why he's winning Rookie of the Split.
Yep. And that's like, when other players in the league are speaking like so highly of you, that's got to count for something.
And like unsolicited too. None of this has been solicited.
I didn't ask him to talk about Treats. He was just like, yes, now is my time. I will stand on my soapbox and I will talk to you about Treats for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, Meg, are you on the Treats train as well?
I would, but for the sake of variety, I'm gonna be the Pablo mouthpiece, and I'm gonna vote for my guy El Poja. He like when it comes to MVP being the most, like, not just the best performing, but by the official definition of the term, the most valuable, I think. Actually, I think like it has to go to Alioya because I think so much of him or Armut, who I don't think's eligible, but like those two have formed such a key part of Mad's playstyle. I spoke to not Peter Dunn, that was a slip of the tongue, Mac earlier this year. And he was talking about how like they brought in these two players because they wanted to change up their playstyle. They wanted to have people who could take on multiple roles, and they wanted to diversify their like damage portfolio. And I think Alioya has done exactly that. He's proven that he can kind of do it all for this team, and he can really be a rock for them to lean on when like stuff isn't going so well in the lanes. So I think purely by most valuable, I don't think Mad would look anything like they currently do if they didn't have Alioya.
And to slot into what was previously such a tight-knit team, right? And then be like, oh yeah, we love these guys. Like, they were all best friends. And you slide someone in there, it's like, oh yeah, no, yeah, he's a homie. Yeah, Armut, come over from an entirely different region. Bet, we like this guy.
We bros. It's cool.
Okay, and then absolute rapid fire. Everyone gets one sentence. Who's your MVP?
Oh boy.
I'll start with Larson because I take the strict definition. Because I think that no one on G2 can win MVP because we have seen what they look like even without Reckless, even without some of their best performing players. They would still be the difference between them as they are and them without any one of their players is much smaller than Rogue without Larson, in my opinion.
I say Reckless. He's having a nutty, like this was a nutty season. I think like because he ended with a double-digit KDA. The last person to do that was Reckless in 2018. So. Yeah, no, I'm gonna give it to Reckless. He made a G2 debut for the ages. I think that he has the least deaths in the league. Like, what?
On ADC, that sure is
ADC,
something.
Least amount of deaths in the league with the highest KDA.
That's hype.
All right, Meg?
What else do you want?
I'm gonna throw out a controversial one. Odoamne, because he is just such a pressure sponge for his team, and he enables Inspired to do so much across the map, and he is such a sturdy and reliable player that I think he deserves to be MVP. And also the memes of Odoamne no MVP were funny, and I feel like we need to get justice for our boy.
Justice for Odo.
I think that's a good shout as well, even just by the strict definition of value. That is, I can get behind that. All right, to Meg we go. Let's set up the Hank redemption tour here before we end this half of the pod.
It's time for the quiz. So let me actually find my quiz first. Okay, so this quiz, I have 3 questions, and they are all based around one champion, and that champion is Seraphine mid lane. Oh. So, my first question is, which region played Seraphine mid first? Was it the LEC or the LCS? Now, with this, we are going off from the start, like from the start of each league individually, because obviously the LCS started a little bit before the LEC, so like, no, a little bit after, so like it wouldn't match up exactly. So I'm talking about which region. I've kind of like scrambled this in my brain. Do you guys get what I mean?
Yeah.
I think so.
In which region was it picked in an earlier week?
In an earlier week.
Yeah.
So like week 6 of spring, even though it was the most recent one for NA, would be considered
the same as week 6 in the LEC.
Okay.
We're purely talking about it weeks gone from the start. We may have to edit this out and refilm it because I've done a terrible job of explaining this.
No, I think I get it. Okay, well then.
Okay, well, explain to Tyler
I'm
because Tyler
gonna
looks very
No,
confused.
no. I'm thinking of which region would. Oh my gosh. I'm just gonna say, we saw Seraphine mid in the LEC first.
I'm actually going to say LCS if it's strictly by definitions of week, because like week 1 of LCS is week 4 of LEC or whatever. So I'm just going to say LCS. I'm going to roll my dice on the math.
You're both wrong. It was picked in both regions. It was picked in week 4.
Oh. Man, like, look, man. Look. Go to the next question, man. Like, this is what I'm talking about, man. Like,
Anyway, so
this is what I'm saying, Hank. This is what I'm saying, man. Yeah, go ahead.
This is gonna be the last episode you see me on the podcast, guys. I'm out. I'm done from here.
Yeah, keep going, dude.
Okay, so question 2: who were the 2 mid laners that picked it?
Oh,
one
Christ.
in LEC, one in LCS, and this counts as 2 points.
Was it Niski and Niski?
Why
Trick
do you?
question?
Oh, you want to play this game? You want to play this game? Well, let's go. Let's tussle. Come on.
Oh, I don't know, man. This is gonna be.
So this is question 2 and 3. So you have 2 opportunities to redeem yourself here.
So first one is the LCS one. So
Yeah.
one question is the LCS, and then the
So,
other question is the LEC.
First question: who picked in LCS? Second question: who picked it in LEC? And this is specifically in the mid lane.
Can I lock in my LEC one?
You can.
Okay, I'm going to say
You want to do LEC first?
wait, so is it who's picked it, period? Is there only one person in each region that has picked it? Or is it
No,
picked
it's
it first?
who was the person who picked it first.
Picked it first. Okay, I'm still going to say Niski
Okay.
in the LEC. LCS. This is tough.
This is weird.
Uh,
I'm gonna have to pressure you for answers, guys.
yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go. POE, LCS, and then Niski makes sense though.
I mean, you could pick
You
Niski.
can have the same answer. It's not against
Okay,
the rule.
fine. I'll take Niski for LEC, but I'll say POE.
Okay.
And
Hank,
then
what are we going for LCS?
LCS, I'm going to say Insanity.
You were both right on LEC, but it was Jensen that first picked it in
I was
LCS.
gonna say Jensen. I
Same.
said Jensen in my freaking.
We
I
both
had
debated
it.
ourselves.
Oh my gosh.
We both
She's
broke our
like
own ankles.
Did Jensen play her? Oh, I'm so angry.
He played her into, I believe, TSM.
Oh
I'm big
God,
fan.
I'm so sad.
Okay.
Right, so that's a big 1 point for each of you. We're slowly moving on up there. I have no idea who is currently winning, but it's not me because I have to watch you guys get this wrong every single week.
Oh man, I had Jensen right there.
I think Tyler still got the overall lead if this week was a wash. So I think that's it for us. Yes. Wait, so that was questions 2 and 3. Yes.
Yes, that was questions 2 and 3.
Okay.
You're done. You're good. You don't have to do this anymore. It's
Oh my God.
All right. So yeah, we're not gonna be flipping a coin to decide who was the winner here, but yeah, we're gonna take it to a break, and when we come back, we will have LCS coverage featuring another special guest to be determined in a sec. Big thank you to Meg. She's gotta hop out and do actual important things that don't involve just talking into a camera and just stroking our own egos. But yeah, we will surely miss. She'll be back next week, obviously, and yeah, we'll be right back.
Adios.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for being here. This is part 2 of the Critical Strike Podcast, episode 14, with a fresh face you may, whose face maybe you do or don't recognize. Well, we do get those snazzy new profile pictures a while back on the Dota site. But he manages the power rankings, watches a bunch of LCS and a whole bunch of other regions as well. But we brought him on for the second half for the LCS. It's Michael Kelly. Mike, how you doing?
Doing great, Hank. Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Let's get right into it. Banger 2-3 matchups in both regions as far as the Western regions are concerned. So I think let's start there because we are a little scrunched for time here, relatively speaking. So let's talk about TSMTL because that is the one that has, I think, the highest volatility. Everything else you could kind of, well, I mean, maybe the 5-6, but losers bracket. We'll go that second, I think. TSM versus Team Liquid. Look, TL have or TSM rather have the 2-0 over TL, but TL have looked like they have righted the ship a little bit. Granted, and they did beat 3 other playoff teams in week 6. They beat Dig, they beat EG, and they beat 100 Thieves. So they feel like they have some momentum coming into this, whereas TSM got to beat up on Immortals and Golden Guardians, lost to EG to start the split, or to end the split, I should say. Mike, am I reading too much into these final week results?
No, you're not. TL is on a hot streak. They have won 5 of their last 6 games, and the one game they lost was against a team that won't even be in playoffs, CLG. So TL has really nothing to worry about right now. Obviously, let's not read into best of 1 results like they're the end-all, be-all. But in my opinion, TL should walk into this matchup against TSM with a little bit of confidence. I know TSM owns the head-to-head, but TL is a team that's built for best-of-5s. You have guys up and down this roster that have best-of-5 experience since day 1. This TL roster is really, really good. And not to mention, they won a couple best-of-5s earlier in the year when they won the lock-in tournament. So, yeah, I have stock in TL. I do think it'll be a close series, but TL should not be holding their heads down low coming into the series.
I think it's going to be interesting to see how they adapt through the series, because one of the biggest problems for TL, obviously, it's been talked about the entire season, is their inability to push their crazy early game into success. They have almost like a 2,000 gold average goal difference at 15 minutes. That's insane. But then their record doesn't really seem like a team with a 2,000 gold average goal difference at 15. Like, it's been a big problem for them to be able to translate that early game into a successful mid to late game, whereas TSM's kind of the anti of that, where they've had really, really good mid to late game transitions. And I think they're actually the second, according to I think it's Oracle's Elixir, they have the second best mid to late game rating behind Dignitas. So it'll be interesting to see, because it's not a best of 1. There's there's chances there for TL to adjust on the fly, and we don't know how these teams, their ability to adjust on the fly just yet, especially since these are very different forms from the beginning of the season where we saw them in the lock-in tournament. And so we will see. I think that TL does have a lot of, their ceiling is really, really high when it comes to best of 5 series, when you see guys like Alfari and Santorin and the rest of the lineup in general is just jam-packed with playoff experience-based players. And then with TSM, you have a guy like Lost, for example, who's coming in fresh-faced and might need a bit of time to warm up. And so this is kind of throwing him into the fire against TL in this kind of sense. But I think it's going to be closer than people think. I think that TL has shown a lot of inconsistency. And they've made a lot, Tactical has made so many just unforced errors that just don't make sense to me. He's honestly underwhelmed me a lot this season, Tactical. I think that he came in with a ton of hype, but almost every game he's made a silly position mistake that has cost his team something. There's a clip of Double Lip watching. Oh, I can't remember who TL was facing, but but Tactical's in the top lane, and then he gets hit with a Nico binding or something, and all you hear is Tactical.
My God, if Definitely had better items for that, Tactical actually would have died, and it could have been bad for TL. Oh my God, look at the Ahri build. How much CDR does this champion have right now? Fucking 20,000%. Tactical!
Yo, what's going on?
Oh my God, dude! Tactical is tilting me so hard, man. Just play normally. Stop fucking griefing, man.
Oh, yeah.
Stop trolling me! And then it was so funny because he's just been camera
There he is.
And it was so funny because I feel like Tactical is done. I remember their game against TSM. Didn't he get caught out twice by PoE on Syndra, randomly in the mid lane? It's
Yep.
That's not necessary, and I feel like that's happened a lot with TL this season. Is just unforced errors that cost them.
Yeah, and it dates back to the beginning of the season too. I mean, even in their literal first game of the regular season against Immortals, it was the writing was on the wall. They start the season 0-1, and they're losing to these teams that they should not be losing to, and they're making mistakes that they should not be making. If TL is going to lose this series, I know TSM is the favorite in terms of like bracket, but in my eyes, TL has the best of five experience that's necessary, because really the main way to win a best of five is to have players who have been there before, and 4 out of 5 members on this TL roster have competed in a best of five on the international stage, while all 5 of them have been in a best of five before, dating back to last year's domestic schedule.
Right.
So really, I think TL is a personal favorite of mine. I think they will find success in this series. Will they win? That's still debatable. Like I said, it's gonna be close, 3-2 either way.
I can see this series going all the way, and I think that if TL is gonna lose, I think they're gonna lose because of themselves. I think that's a big thing, is that TL will lose because they make mistakes, like that weren't needed, that weren't like, whether they're getting over aggressive, or they're extending too far out, or they're just getting caught out. I think that that's going to be what we need to look out for TL, because that's been the theme. It's just they make these silly mistakes that end up costing them big, and it's flabbergasting to watch these guys, because they just dominate the early game, and it's like, geez, how are these teams going to come back? And suddenly, tactically gets caught out. They missed position in the team fight a little bit. They pushed too hard, and then they tower dove, and suddenly they gave up 2 kills. It's like, come on, boys. Like, come on now. You're better than that.
Yeah. And I think on the one hand, you could argue that, okay, that might be encouraging because those feel like easier mistakes to fix. Like we said, like we've kind of been alluding to, TL, it feels like, has a higher ceiling, because it's like, okay, well, if you just, like, you've got the better, fingers and coordination or whatever, but if you keep shooting yourself in the foot like this, a team like TSM, who are no pushovers, who have beat you twice already this year, and we're at one point, we're looking like the best team in the split for like a hot sec, right as Cloud9 started their little downturn, TSM was kind of peaking. They, at their ceiling, are very good, but I think I would agree with Mike and Tyler that it feels like TL have a little bit of a higher ceiling, if nothing else because of best of 5 experience. I think Jensen is an absolute rock in the mid lane. I think that Core JJ is still a very good shot caller. They have a legitimate carry threat finally in Alfari in the top lane, and I feel like they've learned how to kind of play around that. Whether they put him on, I think the GP game he did fine on, on the Redacted, he always plays really well. They seem to have, again, it's one thing to have a bunch of carry options. It's another thing to, like we were saying, that TL's mid game decision making has been a bit suspect. Sometimes that comes out in what do we play around. Right, what do we play around? And if Alfari is just gonna turbo stomp Huni in lane a couple times, you would hope that they'd be like, okay, yeah, this is our guy.
This is an Alfari game, yeah.
Yeah, it's an Alfari game, boys. It's like TFT, right? You see what the game gives you, and you play that. And if it's not working, you pivot to something else. But I think it will be close though, because I do think that those mistakes don't just correct themselves overnight. There's only a 1 week. There's no gap, right? The first round is in this coming weekend. Actually, do they even play? Hold up, okay. Because the first round is this week, but do they play this weekend?
Yeah.
Saturday
Both
Sunday.
winners brackets, Saturday and Sunday. Yeah.
Okay.
They
Yep.
play on Sunday.
Yep. And then the losers brackets will go from there. Okay. So
Yes.
final predictions for this one, TSMTL.
3-2. 3-2 TSM.
Okay.
I'm gonna side with Tyler. I think TSM will barely eke it out, but I would not be stunned in the slightest if TL takes it, by a hair. Like you said, Alfari is the man to watch. That Alfari Huni matchup should be really fun to keep an eye on, and I think that particular lane matchup might be the deciding factor.
Dude, this is gonna be such a close series. This is gonna be such a good series to watch. Like, this is the primo pasta. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, this one's gonna be a ton of fun. I'm gonna actually say 3-1 TL. I have immense confidence in them. I think TSM. I think the experience will win out for TL. I think that Alfari will make mincemeat of Huni in the top lane.
Come on, brother.
If they leave him on a weak side island, sure, maybe, but then then Alfari isn't able to snowball whatever lead or whatever. But I think that their macro is good enough to where they can make up for that. I don't think that Lost, I think Lost, he's not going to expose Tactical, right? Like we talked about, Tactical's just going to expose himself. Like the mid lane matchup will be what it'll be, right? We know what TSM wants to do. They want to get to the late game. And if they survive that long, then PoE is just going to play some hyperscaler and win you the game. But I think if TL can figure out those mid game mistakes, which I have faith that they will be able to build themselves a bridge and get to the late game, then whatever hyperscaler they put PoE on won't even be a problem. So that is my take. But let's move it to the top match, I guess, the 1-4. I don't know why I phrase it that way. C9 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves have looked better. They have righted the ship a little bit. They put Ryoma on, just control mage duty, which, if it works, it works, I suppose. But it's still the FBI show. And I don't. Do you guys believe in this 100 Thieves team?
I don't know.
Actually, here, do you believe that sounds flamey? Do you believe in this 100 Thieves team against Cloud9? There.
I mean,
My answer is no.
I'll play. Okay, well that's straightforward enough.
Yeah.
I'll play voice of reason here and say that the last time these two teams played in the best of 5, 100 Thieves jumped out to a 2-0 lead in the lock-in tournament before Cloud9 came roaring back to reverse sweep them. And obviously that was eons ago at this point. But
Eons. Yeah.
It's a good I guess litmus test for what we're about to witness this weekend. Do I think 100 Thieves is as good as they were back then? Maybe, but the real answer is Cloud9 has gotten better. Just throw the 3 or 4 game losing streak out the window. This Cloud9 team is still, in my opinion, the team to beat in the LCS. And frankly, to answer your question, Hank, I don't see this 100 Thieves team providing that challenge. I don't see this 100 Thieves team, taking down Cloud9 or even taking them to the point that they did 2 months ago.
Yeah. The thing is, for me, I think that 100 Thieves looked so good at the beginning of the split because they were coming in with 4 of the 5 same teammates. I think that existing kind of connection between those 4 guys who came over from Golden Guardians helped push them, whereas other rosters, even Cloud9, were still trying to figure themselves out a little bit. Let's be real, right? When Cloud9 first came into this season, they didn't look as strong because they were still trying to figure out how they want to play around with perks, how they want to play with Fudge. They were still kind of feeling out the water. They look good, but they didn't look as good as now. And I think that 100 Thieves, they looked really, really good in the beginning of the season because I think they had a jump start on building that kind of synergy together. But once the rest of the teams caught up in terms of getting to know each other's playstyles and things like that, then specific issues within 100 Thieves' playstyle started to pop up a little more because they couldn't just rely on that existing synergy to push them to victories. And I think that Cloud9, like you said, has only gotten better. And we all expected Cloud9 to be a top 1-2 team in the league. And they're not number 2 anymore.
No. For me, I think this series will come down to draft, honestly. For the last couple of weeks, Cloud9 has been proving that they have immense champion pools. Blabber in particular stands out as a guy who, if you ban him out, okay, that's fine. I'll go play Rek'Sai or something. I don't care. Or
you can't really ban him out. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. And Perks is the same way. I mean,
and
Perks
that's
led the
3
league.
fewer picks that you throw to either one of those guys.
Yeah,
precisely. Right. And you have guys up and down this roster who can bust out so many champs. Sven can play Ezreal whenever he wants. Perks can play LeBlanc whenever he wants. It doesn't matter what you ban. It doesn't matter what you pick away. This Cloud9 team will have an answer. I wouldn't be stunned in the slightest if Cloud9 comes back with some weird, unique pick. I mean, Perks is receiving pretty heavy nerfs to a lot of his most played champions. Azir, in particular, is falling out of favor, so he could step up and play something weird and obscure. Blabber is always due for a weird pick, and really, we haven't seen the full extent of what this Cloud9 team is capable of doing, and I think a lot of that will come down to its drafting ability.
Y'all want to hear something wild?
What?
Tell me.
100 Thieves top laner someday. Bottom 3 in KDA, kill participation, kill share, and death percentage. Bottom 3 amongst top laners.
Wait, repeat that? Bottom 3 in
kill participation at 60%. Kill share, bottom 3, 15%. Death percentage, I guess top 3, but 24%. That has been kind of, I think, a bit of the reason even that, if you want to talk about, the problems in the mid lane, fine. Damonte, Ryoma, I think, to me, it was more a symptom of the meta and, Tristana becoming a thing that you would pick into Twisted Fate, and that Damonte, I was just gonna make a CB Low reference, but that doesn't matter. Like, there's one team that's like really, really good and like got on a late season surge because they just put their mid laner on like Galio duty or just like high press TP on cooldown and just dive people duty. It's been working fantastically for them, which is sort of what 100 Thieves were doing, but it's just like all been the FBI train. But you have one of the best top laners in the LCS, and it feels like he is being underutilized. It feels like a little bit of what, in my opinion, I mean, this is not a perfect comparison, but to me, it feels like Team Liquid kind of figured that out of like, wait, we've got so many buttons we can push. We've got Alfari. We've got the best top laner in the league. What are we? Why not use this guy? Tackle's not having a great split. So what? Right? We have top 3 in every position. Right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, but for 100 Thieves, it's like if FBI doesn't work out, if, you know, Demonte / Raumo is getting stomped in lane, or like, but it's like, and you just, someday is not being utilized. And that, I think, the one dimension, you want to talk about one dimensionality for one team, and like Mike was saying, multi-dimensionality for another. This 100 Thieves Cloud9 matchup feels like a disaster. So I as far as prediction, I think Cloud9 could 3-0 this. I'm going to say 3-0 Cloud9. They are head and shoulders above 100 Thieves.
Yeah, I'm there with you. 3-0 Cloud9 for me.
Yeah, let's keep it uniform. I'm gonna say that they sweep them. I don't want to be the guy that goes 3-1 because they have the possible. No, I think that Cloud9 is just way better than them in almost every regard.
Yeah, like.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think again, it's not that 100 Thieves couldn't take a game off them; they could, but it just feels like teams whose trajectories, starting with getting reverse swept in the lock-in tournament, have kind of just gone
one way, right? Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And Cloud9 2-0'd them this year, and both those wins looked really, really, really dominant. Like, they're just kind of breathing different oxygen. 100 Thieves are a very good team. They deserve to be where they are. They're a top 4 team in the LCS for sure. I think they'll beat whoever they draw in the losers bracket, which I guess in this case would be they go EG, right?
No,
is it Dig?
Yeah. Dig.
Whoever loses this goes to play Dig.
Yeah.
And even then, that matchup's kind of.
Yeah, actually, okay. So then let's talk about these bottom 2 teams, Dignitas and Evil Geniuses. And I think the standings kind of got it right as far as if we're just kind of listing a 1 through 6. I think that it's not too unfair here, but EG will play either the loser of the TSMTL, and Dig will play on next Sunday, the 28th, the loser of the 100 Thieves Cloud9 series. Let's say it's 100 Thieves just for the sake of argument. I'll pose it to Tyler this time. EG limped a bit, not really limped in the playoffs. Like, they've just been kind of limping and like unattaching their own leg, using it to just beat people over the head. Like, they've been wild all year, which for entertainment value, if nothing else, I want to see them make a run. I feel like their ceiling might be a little higher than Dig, just because I think over the course of the season, I've seen them beat more top teams. I've seen them, I think Dignitas, no flame to them, because, again, they have been an absolute joy to watch. Fake God and Saligo, their revenge tours have been unbelievable. Dardoch is one of the best junglers in the league. That's not a controversial statement, which is a statement that if you would have told me I'd be saying that, like, really seriously at the beginning of this split, you would have looked at me like I had 3 heads. You would have not let me host this show, and rightfully so. But I still think that Evil Geniuses in a best of 5, I think they could be the ones to. I'm not saying they're gonna make a finals run or anything. But if one of these 2 teams did, I think it would be EG.
Yeah, I think that I want to root for Dig.
Yeah,
so
of course.
Badly. I mean, just their entire story in general, especially with all of the talk of imports and all this stuff, to have a full North American team really pop off. But like you said, I don't think they've beaten anybody sides for TSM. They haven't beaten any of the C9 TL and 100 Thieves group. They haven't beat those guys. They've only beaten
combined 06 against those teams.
Yeah. So, I'm not trying to say that they're kind of like the gatekeepers of NA in terms of the top half of the league, but it feels a little bit like that because everyone was popping off. It's like, oh my gosh, they're on this huge run. They beat TSM. When it comes down to it, they haven't been able to beat the teams that are on clearly a different level. EG, on the other hand, is very confusing to me.
Yes.
I don't know what to expect from this team because they've been very inconsistent in terms of they look really good one day and then kind of mediocre on another.
Want to hear something wild real quick? Okay, that I think speaks to your point.
Sure, yeah.
EG against, again, this is just head-to-heads, best of ones, take it with a grain of salt. But against 100 Thieves, Cloud9, TL, TSM, against the top 4, 100 Thieves, 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 100 they've split with every single one of those teams, 1-1.
Nice.
But they have 4 wins against the top 4 teams. There are some top 4 teams who don't have 4 wins against top 4 teams.
It's really, really weird.
Yeah, I just
I
think,
don't know.
I think they've got a higher ceiling, and I think the best of ones do bear that out to a degree.
Who are they facing again? The TSM matchup, right?
Yeah.
So whoever loses that matchup, they will face off against EG.
Mm-hmm. And that kind of sucks, but that's what you get for getting the 6th seed, right? That's the way like the structure shakes out, is that you're going to get 2-3, not 100 Thieves, because EG 100 Thieves, I think that would be closer. I think 100 Thieves would still win out, but I think that could go to 5 games. I wouldn't be shocked if EG won that. I think whoever comes out of that TSM TL, I think again there'll be one. I think there'll be one cheese game, 3-1. I don't think it's a coward's prediction, but I think Evil Geniuses will still lose to whoever comes out of TMTSL or TLTSM.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think right now Dignitas is a team that I look at and I don't get too excited for the reasons we just mentioned. Yes, they have 11 wins. That's a pretty good number to have after one split. 11-7 is a good record for the LCS. But when we look at who they performed against, they beat every team they were supposed to beat, and they lost to every team they were supposed to lose to, which is why they are exactly in the middle of the standings. So to me, betting it all on Dignitas feels like this false narrative. I don't love the team because they will get cut down by a top team, by a top 4 team. They could take EG in a best of 5, but in my opinion, they don't hold a candle to the TSM, Cloud9, TL, even 100 Thieves group. Right now, Dignitas just feels like the weaker of those 2 options. That's why I like EG in a potential miracle title run scenario. I like the idea of EG getting on a hot streak because this team is very streaky. And if they pick now, the time period between now and April 10th, to just flip the on switch and go off and just full send it to the finals, anything can happen. I don't really want to shy away from EG just getting hot, putting all the cards on the table and not winning the LCS, but winning a few best of 5s. They've shown that they have the chops to stack up to these top teams, and I would not be really shocked at all if they made a decent run.
Dude, on a good day, I think EG, yeah. Because you said they're streaky. If they get on a good streak, they can take a top team to 5 games. For sure.
Yeah. I think, like, everyone, like, they have the talent alone on this roster with Peter Dunn at the helm, like, impact. He has been monstrous. He has been a top 3 top laner. He is a legitimate carry threat. Jizuke, right? I mean, he's a bit of a coin flip sometimes, but on the right champions, he can be absolutely insane. His mechanics are very, very good. Sven Skaren is one of the most experienced and, again, just quietly consistent players in the LCS. Definitely is very good in the bottom lane, and Ignore is one of the best supports in the league. Again, can be, right? The ceiling, I think, is really, really high on EG. We've kind of been saying, more or less the same thing. I'm glad we're all in agreement, although maybe it doesn't make for horribly exciting podcast content. But I don't know. Any as we wrap up here, we're about at that time. Any spicy takes you got? Any just kind of looking forward down the line at these as these playoffs would progress out? I don't know. Give me your finals matchup. Give me a finals matchup and a prediction and a dark horse. How about that?
How about this? I'm gonna say TSM gets to the finals.
Okay.
I think it's TSM and C9 this year. I don't think that's a terribly hot take, but I think that this is like one of the first times in a long time that I've looked at TSM and been like, I have a pretty good sense of how this team is gonna be. In the last couple of years, it's been very like, maybe. I don't know, but this year it feels, because obviously it's a new team, whatever. They look like they've gotten not only an identity, a team identity. It feels like they have this kind of like game plan set and ready to go. Whereas other years, I feel like sometimes they shift and just. They default to passive gameplay later in the game, et cetera, et cetera. That's kind of that meme, right? Where it's just TSM like the passiveness of TSM. But this team feels like they have a team identity that I think that they can ride all the way to the finals.
So C9 TSM is your finals. What do you think? Do you think TSM can take it or no?
I like TSM C9 in the finals. I think it's a close series. I'm more partial to Cloud9 just because I think they're the better team. I'll take C9 3-2 in the finals. C9 goes to MSI, and man, we'll go from there. but
Oh my god.
the rest of the world is so good right now. It's so scary to sit here and talk about LCS playoffs and know what's waiting on the other. It's terrifying. I mean, I love debating like, oh man, EG, look at this team. And then
We're talking about EG. Like what?
You realize a couple thousand miles that way, Damwon is just
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And it's like, whoa, okay, wait a minute, guys.
Yo, it's that like Damwon's gonna roll up, like 50 Cent in that GIF where he rolls up in the convertible. He goes,
yeah.
and he goes, and then you just drive away.
Just floors it.
We're talking about EG. We're talking about 100 Thieves. Like, boy, we're about to get hurt. We're about to get stomped when we go to MSI. I mean, I think Cloud9, if they do go, they stand a chance. But oh my God, these are the top teams in every region.
Yeah.
We talk about Damwon G2. No, sir. No, sirree, Bob, man.
It's a tough ask for sure.
And it's unfortunate because I do think that Cloud9 on paper do have like the best shot at taking it to an international team of any team we would send. I actually think of the top three, TSM have the least potential because while I do think they're a very good team, their macro is good, and they have a good shot caller and sword art. They play, just their fundamentals have been good, like kind of Tyler was alluding to, like for the first time in a long time, you kind of know what you're getting out of TSM, but that has never worked, and understandably so, at international places. I do think that the only gap I worry about if C9 were to go, like, let's imagine like Fudge against Nuggery, exactly. Like again, and this is not to flame Fudge because God knows he's been through it and he's been playing way better. He has been phenomenal. He's a big part of the reason that Cloud9 have improved. Yes, they've been gelling more, but you can't just feed the fish against Cloud9. You can't just let's just camp the beep out of Fudge and just watch people just win the game through one lane. But oh my goodness, yeah. But whereas I think Alfari stands a chance, right? Huni does not. But I think Alfari absolutely does stand a chance, and I think that again there are no weaknesses on TL, but I think that again that bot lane's going to have to step up. Otherwise, you're going to get Jackie loved into the ground if TS comes out of that in the LPL, right? The bot laners in the LCK would eat him alive in his current form. In his last year form, sure, different conversation. But in his current form, I think he'd get eaten alive. But I do think the Cloud9 probably have the best shot. I'm gonna say C9 TL in the finals, and I don't know. I think TL are gonna take it 3-2.
Oof.
But I think again that worries me a little bit for MSI because I think on balance, I would rather have C9 at MSI. If nothing else, just because I think they deserve to go to MSI just based on what happened last year. The fact that they played how they did last year in like the spring especially, and we didn't see an international event of any kind. Bit of a bummer, but them's the breaks, I suppose. All right. Well, all right. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for being here, watching, and listening to the Critical Strike Podcast, episode 14. A little LCS LEC primer for the playoffs, which, again, the LCS playoffs start in a few days, whereas the LEC playoffs start in a few days plus a week. So we'll be back with more kind of LEC-focused content a little bit later as we dive into that, but in a little LCS recap reaction sort of deal to the first round, which are going to kick off on Saturday and Sunday. The 23rd. Yeah, I think that one. Anyway, I'm going to stop saying dates before I know. I don't know what they are. Big thank you to Mike for being here. Really do appreciate his presence, his insight, his bant, and his lovely shining face as well. Big thank you to Tyler. Thank you to everyone else that lets us do this. For Michael Kelly, for Tyler Segura, for Meg K, who was on previously. You can catch us on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and oh no, I usually get Pocket Casts. Google Play.
There it is.
Okay, well, I was gonna happen at some point. But yeah, on the YouTube as well. So yeah, hit us up at Crit Strike Pod on Twitter, and then on YouTube, the Critical Strike Podcast. We've got our own channel. Trying to build that out. Would really appreciate a like, a subscribe on any platform we use, etc. This is not just stroking our ego, so we can say to our friends, "Oh, I have a 5-star podcast." No, it helps us. It helps just us grow, and it helps us bring y'all more content as well. So for everyone I've mentioned, I've been Henrique Demore. Thank you for being here, and we'll be back next week.